Imagine you're trapped, completely immobile. The scorching Persian sun burns your exposed face while thick, sticky honey drips slowly into your eyes, your mouth, your nose. The sweetness turns sickening fast. Then the buzzing starts. Thousands of tiny legs crawling, biting, burrowing into your skin. You try to scream, but the sound chokes in your throat as the horror intensifies with every second. This wasn't a nightmare. This was real. A punishment designed to be worse than death itself. One drunken boast doomed a man to 17 days of living hell. How did they keep him alive long enough for his own body to destroy him? Stay with me, because what happened next will turn your stomach. We're stepping into one of history's most diabolical execution methods, Scaphism, the boats. A slow psychological nightmare from ancient Persia that didn't just kill the body. It shattered the soul first. By the end of this, you'll understand why some fates truly are worse than dying, and why this ancient terror still echoes in our deepest fears. Picture 401 BC, the vast Achaemenid Empire, ruled by the powerful King Artaxerxes II. His brother Cyrus the Younger launches a bloody rebellion. The Battle of Cunaxa erupts in chaos, spears clashing, men screaming, blood soaking the ground. In the frenzy, a loyal soldier named Mithridates lands the fatal blow on Cyrus. A hero's moment, but the king claims the glory for himself. He secretly rewards Mithridates, but warns him, "Tell no one. Say, it was me." For a time, Mithridates holds his tongue, until that fatal banquet. Wine flows freely, tongues loosen. In a haze of drunken pride, he boasts loudly, "It was my spear that ended Cyrus, not the king's." Word races back to Artaxerxes. The king's fury isn't just about the lie, it's the public humiliation. He needs more than death. He needs an example that will terrorize his entire empire. But here's the strange part. The punishment he chose wasn't quick. It was meticulously designed to break a man in ways no blade ever could. They took Mithridates to the riverbank under the relentless sun, the air thick with humidity, the water lapping nearby. Two wooden boats crafted to fit perfectly together like a living coffin. They stripped him naked and laid him in the bottom boat, forcing his head, hands, and feet through carefully cut holes. Then they slammed the second boat on top, sealing his torso inside this floating prison. Only his extremities stuck out, completely exposed to the elements. Guards forced a thick mixture of milk and honey down his throat. More was slathered across his face, his eyes, his exposed skin. The sweetness was overwhelming, the smell sickly sweet and heavy in the air. And what happened next was even worse. The honey drew every insect for miles. Flies, ants, beetles, swarms blackening the air around him with a constant maddening buzz. They landed, they crawled, they fed. But that wasn't the end of it. The forced feeding, the blazing heat, and his immobility triggered his body's worst reactions. Sweat pouring down, vomit rising, uncontrollable waste, all trapped inside that sealed, airless hell with him. A perfect rotting incubator. It gets worse. The sun cooked him by day, burning his skin. Chilling nights brought no relief, only the damp cold and endless buzzing. And inside the boats, nature began its slow, intimate invasion. Most executions end in minutes. A sword, flames, the noose. But Scaphism, it was built for maximum duration. The constant honey kept him nourished just enough to prolong the agony. Dehydration crept in slowly. Infections bloomed. His own body became the weapon. What happened next shocked even the hardened witnesses. Maggots didn't just cover him. They hatched inside his wounds, his orifices burrowing deep into living flesh. Day after day, the pain intensified. The humiliation deepened. For 17 full days, Mithridates endured this living decomposition. Before we continue, remember this. Mithridates wasn't dead yet. Every single sensation you're hearing about, the crawling, the rotting, the helplessness, happened while he was still fully conscious. Imagine the psychological torment. Fully aware, feeling every bite, every movement beneath your skin, begging for a death that refused to come. Your mind fracturing long before your body finally gave out. Then everything changed in those final unbearable hours. The once proud warrior was reduced to a writhing, unrecognizable mass of decay and torment, his screams growing weaker under the sun. When he finally drew his last breath, they opened the boats. What spilled out wasn't a man. It was a nightmare of putrefaction, swarming with vermin that had consumed him from the inside out. The stench must have been unbearable. The Persians ensured the message echoed across the empire. Challenge the king's authority, and your end won't be noble or swift. It will be public, degrading, and utterly dehumanizing. Artaxerxes didn't just execute Mithridates. He erased his dignity, his legacy, his very humanity. But here's what made Scaphism different. It didn't rely on blades or fire. It weaponized nature itself, your own body, the sun, the insects, and time, turning the very things that sustain life into instruments of pure torment. Other cultures had their horrors too. China's lynching, death by 1,000 cuts. Europe's breaking wheel, shattering bones one by one. Vlad the Impaler's stakes. Yet Scaphism stands apart for its cold psychological precision. It wasn't mindless rage. It was calculated terror to maintain absolute power. And that's where the real nightmare begins. Because the fear of a fate worse than death runs deeper than any single method. Here's something that hits even harder. While Scaphism may have been rare, the concept haunted many societies, denying proper burial, erasing a name from history, trapping the soul in eternal suffering. Today, experts draw chilling parallels to modern solitary confinement in supermax prisons, trapped in a sensory-deprived box, the mind slowly devoured by isolation, many inmates saying they'd prefer physical death. Your brain is wired to dread exactly this kind of helpless vulnerability, and this connects straight to us. Deep in our psychology, humans are wired for control. Our survival instincts scream against helplessness. When we lose agency over our own bodies and minds, the suffering becomes unbearable. Modern neuroscience shows how prolonged isolation and loss of control can break even the strongest among us, triggering the same primal terror that Scaphism exploited so perfectly. It's not about distant history. It's about what happens when our most basic human needs are systematically stripped away. Scaphism wasn't merely about ending a life. It was about systematically unmaking a man, body, mind, and spirit, while he remained fully aware. Mithridates didn't just die. He was devoured alive by the very forces that sustain us. Nature, time, his own biology. His story forces us to confront the darkness we carry, the thin line between justice and monstrosity. In an age where we still debate punishment, mercy, and human dignity, it asks the uncomfortable question, how far are we willing to go when power whispers in our ear? Look in the mirror. The capacity for such horror, it still lives in us. The only difference now is how well we hide our boats. And in the end, that ancient Persian riverbank feels closer than we'd like to admit. If this story left you stunned, chilled, and thinking deeply about the shadows of human nature, smash that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell. We've got more forgotten horrors and psychological deep dives coming that will keep you glued to the screen. Drop your thoughts in the comments. What do you believe is the worst punishment ever conceived, ancient or modern? See you in the next one. Stay curious and stay human.